Welcome to part 2 of my Speed Puzzle World Series recaps. It was time to talk about the first day challenges, or so I thought. Instead, we'll be talking a little bit about the challenges, but mostly about the lighting, the cameras, and the collectible trading cards, and we start to see how wrong my predictions were. Welcome back to my Speed Puzzle World Series recaps. In part 1, we looked at the build-up to the start of the challenges, the good and the frustrating. So continue from that, now that we are all seated and at our competition tables, let's continue with what happened on day 1. So initially, this part of this recap series was meant to cover the 3 challenges on day 1, but as I was prepping this particular episode, I realized that was not going to be possible. So instead, challenge 1 will be talked about, but there are a couple other topics that need to be addressed first, and then we can move on from them. But first, and the most important question, is my hair getting too long? It's never been this long in years, and I probably just all messed it up now. Is it getting too long? Should I cut my hair? There are a few things I do want to get out of the way before I go into the recap aspect. This bit of the recording will be copied and put into the start of all the videos within this series. So if you've seen it before, just skip over to it or watch it again. It's up to you, really. So first of all, as I mentioned in the preview videos for the World Series, I am in no way associated with the organization of the Speed Puzzle World Series. I'm not here to promote it or discourage it or anything else with the World Series. If I make suggestions like you should try to attend if there is a future World Series, that's what I honestly believe. So there are no sponsorships or deals on this channel right now, and if there are any in the future, that will be made very clear. Second, and most importantly, how I approach this recap will be different than my recap series for the 2025 World Championships. I spoke to a lot of people in Munich who watched that series. That's where I think a lot of people started following this channel. That was a big bump after the World Championships for me. It will still be along the same line. I still talk the same. I'll still have the same mannerisms, stuff like that. But running a massive international event for the first time, which is what the Speed Puzzle World Series was, is very different to running a event in the same spot with pretty much everything the same for the 5th time. So that has to be taken into account when I go through these videos. And depending on the particular issue, leniency will probably be given in this case. Not in every circumstance, of course, but you'll see as this series progresses. Third, this recap series is not about my personal experience, but the community's experience. In some cases, I will bring up things that I did experience if it goes in with the overall story that I'm trying to tell within these recaps. If there's anything I include in these videos that I did not personally experience, I will have confirmed it with multiple other people before I include it in here. If I only hear something from one person, it's unlikely I'm going to include it in this video. Anecdotal evidence is great, but I do need to hear it from multiple people, unless it's something very funny that happened to you, or you have some sort of video of it. Great. Please send that to me separately and I can include it in future videos. There's no possible way for me to talk about everything that happened because I can't be everywhere at once, and I was competing as well. I'm focused on what I was doing at the World Series. Now I've spoken to hundreds of people, I would think, that were at this event, which I'll talk about as we go through. But again, if you have anything, you can send it to me privately through my Instagram account. And finally, there may be points in this recap series that you may not agree with, and that's okay. Each of the 334 competitors, the organizers, the workers, the volunteers, the spectators, the commentators, and anyone else who is part of this event will have a slightly different experience from one person to the next. Different perspectives matter in this case. In my personal opinion, the organizers, Mel Townsend and Lou Jacket, will be open to hearing from participants going forward. If you have issues with anything that happened, that's going to be taken into consideration. I'm confident that those concerns will be addressed in future World Series competitions. There will be other things that I mentioned in here that, again, some people may not agree with my point of view on it. But it's the internet, so that's gonna happen. So on that note, let's get back to recapping the first ever Speed Puzzle World Series. But seriously, is it too long? I don't know if I like this. Short hair again. Go watch my earlier videos, and I have short hair in there. Even the preview video for this whole channel. Short hair or long hair? That's the important question. But the World Series is also important as well. After months of guesses, assumptions, speculation, and any other synonyms that may fall within this topic area, we were going to start to get answers to some questions. Like, what will the puzzle designs be? What will our collectible cards look like? Was I placed in the right seat? Will I be embarrassed by my table partner? How much faster will they be? Will the cameras catch the tears that are inevitable? You know, the usual competition things. The last few might just apply to me. What is noticeable before we even started the first puzzle is what the bag came in, and someone noticed this on the live streams and asked me about it. First, it isn't a Ravensburger branded drawstring bag, which is a little bit disappointing because I only have 17 of them. An even 20 would have been great, but you know. More importantly, this is a reminder that this event is not sponsored by any puzzle companies. The puzzles are available exclusively at this event. I would know, I think I brought 1,000 back to Canada. They're unlikely to appear in stores unless approval is given by the people who organize the competition. So I wouldn't count on them appearing in stores, and I kind of like that. It makes the puzzles a little bit more special and rare. Puzzles came in a gift bag, which meant that there was no chance of a thin drawstring bag giving away part of the image before we started, and I guess that's a good thing. Opening the gift bag and getting the puzzle box out was a little awkward the first couple of times because who was practicing this at home? So at the very least, this was equal across everybody. I looked around, and you can watch on the live streams as well. It's a little bit of awkwardness trying to figure out the best way to do this. By the time you get to the 6th challenge, people have realized the fastest way to do it. If you're preparing for a competition, just practice different types of bags. If you don't know if they're going to be in the drawstring bag, practice different bags. The puzzle is revealed, but let's look at what my prediction was first. I do think we see a puzzle theme along the same lines as Paris Rainbow. I don't think it's going to be Paris themed in that sense, but with a much larger gradient section in the background with a few random images or objects more in the foreground. So the puzzle is Tropicana Sunset. Yep, Tropicana Sunset, and I think I pretty much nailed this in my prediction. I do go on to say more in the video that I think it's going to be more of a landscape photograph type of picture, but we'll ignore that. That really applies for the next challenge. This is pretty much as close to getting it right as I think. It is mainly, we'll talk about the gradient, but the gradient that we think is there is mostly the background with random things up front. I don't know how I could be closer, really, without saying exactly what was on, what the random things are going to be. Flamingo in the front. Is this a Yeti or some sort of Sasquatch in there? That's what I thought doing the puzzle. I have no idea. Does anyone know what this is? Now the puzzle is a gradient. At least the bottom half is, and the top bit where the purple sky is. The purple blends into the pink. Yes, we got some gradients in there. The sun above the water, absolutely not a gradient. Color blocking at best, not a gradient. So when filling out the survey about this question, that is a 25 to 50% gradient at best on the puzzle. Still a gradient. This sun being more of a gradient would have been nice, but the sun was challenging as it was. It was a gradient. So this puzzle does fit the brief. We know it's a gradient. Great, I guess. Giving us a portrait puzzle out of the gate, that was mean. I'm not going to talk through every single aspect of the challenges. That's what the live streams are for. Definitely go and watch the live streams, listen to the commentary. They talk about everything in a lot more detail. You can see the puzzlers doing it, the approaches they take. That's not what I'm doing for this. This is a more general overview, detailed general overview of the Speed Puzzle World Series. But now that Challenge 1 is done, some participants are starting to become, or Challenge 1 is close to being done. Some participants, what is wrong with me? Are starting to become, I'm not even going to cut that, are becoming aware of additional challenges they may be facing. And to be fair, in these recaps, I will address them. I've already discussed the tables. I'm not going to bring up the tables after this specific moment. Again, you can go watch part 1 where we talk about that. There's nothing we can do about the tables now. Move on. We'll move on from it. The biggest issue that was most commonly mentioned to me, whether it was through comments or questions, through Instagram, on the YouTube channel, whatever it might be, was the lighting issues. Lighting is so important when it comes to a speed puzzle competition. We've seen the challenges from the World Championships in the Dome. Different times of day can make a difference. Some people being impacted by a massive TV screen in one part of a room, lighting on the ceiling of the dome, changing colors during competitions. And in national competitions too, depending on the room you're in, lighting can change. Lighting needs to be as even as possible for a competition to be as fair as possible. Now, some competitions, including the previous 3 Canadian nationals, have some tables with access to natural light, and this can be a benefit or a hindrance depending on the time of day and how the shadows are coming through. There's times of day where you want the natural light, and I've seen at other times of day people trying to block those windows with flags and banners or people to try to keep the light out. So even natural light is not always ideal, but having different light at different times, not great, especially within the same room. Now, in this particular event, the Speed Puzzle World Series, there was not a massive screen that would impact certain puzzlers. There also wasn't any chance of natural light. Remember, this is a former potato warehouse, so dark areas are needed for storage. But in part 1, we talked about the venue in general, and that there are wings to the venue in addition to the central area. The lighting in the wings was not great. I heard from multiple people that were in the wings, extra shadows were being cast onto the tables, depending on where the competitor was standing at the table. So it could have been coming from either direction, depending on where the lights were on the sides of the walls or above them. That should not be the case. How your body is standing shouldn't really impact or cause extra challenges. One of the main points that the organizers made about how they were designing this event was to make it as fair as possible. Different lighting does not make it fair for everyone. Lighting is important. Now, the table issue I was quite lenient on, and yes, there were some messages that did not agree with that, whatever. But I am going to be more picky here with the lighting. While picking a venue is tough, needing to find something big enough to fit a certain number of people, but not so big that you're paying more for unused space, it's a fine line to walk. It's very difficult to find that ideal spot. Now, the venue size seemed to be essentially perfect. 340 spots were available. 335 competitors were there. That was a pretty good guess. Everybody fit in pretty much exactly. There was not really any extra space to fit one more table. If they picked a space with somewhere for 800 people and still only sold 335 tickets, honestly, that's probably the end of the World Series. The cost for a room that size and not filling half of it, you're not going to recover from that type of financial investment you'd have to make and not get it back. That would be the end of the World Series. Now, if they picked a venue for 200 spots and sold out, costs may be higher for the competition, or who can enter would be a lot more restricted. This will come up again in part 4 in this series. I don't know anymore because of how this is going, but I think it'll be part 4. But I'll get to that. More restrictions may cause other concerns. Regardless, the venue picked is the venue that was picked. The lighting was unequal and certainly darker in some areas of the room. For a gradient puzzle, even a half gradient puzzle, that's an issue because lighting when it comes to a gradient is really important. Now, the very center of the room, the main section of the venue, I guess, where the main part of the balcony overlooks where the stage was at the front, the main center. I have not personally heard from anybody within this section, not just off the side, but within the main section, that there was a lighting issue. And I think that's because the priority seemed to be on that section with how the lighting was already installed in the venue. Not that the priority was given by the organizers, but the priority from the lighting in the venue for all the other events that they host in there. Yes, the priority is given to the middle section. This will come up again with when we talk about the cameras. Priorities. Now this image here shows the amount of lights that are focused on the central area, the main competition floor. The issue with the wings is even if you had this many lights there, shadows would still be an issue because the ceiling is so much lower in the wings. So the lighting issue technically is caused by the venue design, but when they were building this venue, potatoes were the first idea that came to mind. Speed puzzle events probably wasn't high on the list of potential occupancy for this venue, so you can't really blame the venue for not preparing decades in advance. Now, this is a venue that I personally would not have picked, but I'm also saying this in hindsight. I don't know what else was available on specific weekends, because timing matters too. There are 52 weekends in a year. There's a lot of national competitions that need to be considered as well. What's available in different areas, what's cost effective and available in different areas. But again, this wouldn't be my first choice for a venue, but this might have been the only choice, in which case it becomes the first choice. Okay. Now, it is tough to predict what the lighting will be in each section. I get that, especially because you can't bring 340 tables with you as you're going from location to location. You have to make some guesses and assumptions in advance. You also know once people are in there, the chairs, how people are going to move, what the final setup is going to look like as well. But anything with differing light sources and different ceiling heights will 100% of the time result in lighting differences. It just will. There is also an issue with some of tables that were caught on the boundaries between the wings and the center. This image here shows the line of tables here. I was near the front of this specific line. Now, because I was closer to the front, I lucked out and did not feel that there was a lighting issue for my specific location with my particular table. I can't speak for everybody. I don't know specifically what it was like for even the person sharing my table or the table directly in front of me. Behind me, there was nobody. It was a pillar, and there was people behind the pillar, so I had some space behind me as well. But again, I can't speak for everybody on how it worked. It just worked out well for me. And from what I've heard, the further back you go, there was an odd combination of lights that would end up causing a pretty big glare on some of the tables. Again, this is not something you can specifically predict in advance, but something that you may be able to assume would happen. But again, if you take out all the tables that were on the boundaries, you're not going to get to your 340 table limit that you need to get to. That was factored into the costs and everything else. There's so much to take into consideration. I'm not giving leniency here to the organizers. I want to be clear on that when it comes to the lighting. But I do understand the difficulty with being able to picture everything in advance. There is no way, there is no person that is watching this video that would be able to predict how every table would look in lighting. You can predict that's going to be different, again, because of the different ceiling heights, but the boundary lines, that's a tough one to really predict. Now, this glare was an issue for the gradient challenge, as well as the Gibson's puzzles, which come in challenge 5 and 6, which have more glossy pieces, so extra glare would make challenge 5 and 6 extra challenging. This image was sent to me by a competitor that was caught on the boundary between the two sections. As you can see, the glare directly on the puzzle area. And while you can block some of the light by bobbing and weaving your head as you are putting the puzzle together and as you move, having to pretend like you're dodging punches in a boxing ring should not be part of a puzzle competition. It would make a really interesting puzzle competition if we're combining sports, but in this case, not ideal. So this is a problem, and it's not one that can be fixed in the moment. It's only a problem that can be fixed in the future. Now, similar to the tables, I do believe this issue will be fixed, resolved, whatever, in the 2027 Speed Puzzle World Series. There is significantly more time to plan and find a venue that doesn't have varying ceiling levels and giant pillars in the middle of the room. But even then, finding a venue is always going to be the toughest part, and large venues sell out well in advance because you are also competing, if you're in cities specifically, you're competing with weddings, you're competing with, if you're having these in May or June of each year, you're competing with proms if you're in certain countries, your graduations in other countries. Different events take place across the world, and you still need to find a date that matches with national competitions that may or may not be taking place. There's so many things to consider. But having said that, I do have a message specifically for the founders, Mel and Lou. Hello, Mel and Lou. So I hear you're looking for a venue for the 2027 Speed Puzzle World Series. One that has space, good lighting, room for spectators, a stage, and just a good atmosphere. While I can't provide specific examples, I may be able to guide you in the right direction. You see, here in Canada, we take pride in our sports, especially our winter sports, whether it's hockey, curling, figure skating, or ringette. But what do they all have in common? Well, they're in arenas that fit a lot of people. Large, flat surfaces for many tables. Balanced lighting everywhere over the playing surface. Seats circling the competition area for spectators without encroaching on the puzzlers. And what if you can't see from your seats? Well, most of the arenas will have large screens to broadcast those live streams that everyone loves to watch. And those large screens don't impact the competitors at all. But what about the ice? You may be asking. Well, in May, many rinks by that point have melted the ice. And even if we didn't, well, that would add a bit of fun to a puzzle competition. You see, here in Canada, sports matter. Fairness matters. And if something goes wrong, we'll say sorry, and we'll mean it. From Vancouver to St. John's, from Whitehorse to Guelph to Halifax to Montreal, and everywhere in between. We have the space to host the next Speed Puzzle World Series. But if it could be in Toronto, that would be ideal. We are puzzlers, we are passionate, we are your friends from the north, and we are Canadian. So lighting has been covered. I also encourage people who attended the Speed Puzzle World Series to fill out the feedback surveys that have now been sent out to all of us. Feedback matters. Until proven wrong, there is no reason to think that the organizers will not make adjustments. This is the only year where it's their first time, can be used as an explanation with some leniency and without being sarcastic. Year 2 will matter a lot. Okay, let's get back to challenge 1. This is a puzzle competition, and I am far into this recap series, and I've barely actually talked about the puzzles. I do need to get at least one challenge in this video. The gradient round comes to an end, so how close was I in my prediction? This round will be the fastest, I think, with a winning time of 28 minutes and 9 seconds. Why 28 minutes and 9 seconds? Because. I mean, I'm off by just 30 seconds. That's not bad, because with a time of 28:39, Veronica from Poland, the current world champion, takes challenge 1. An incredible time to kick off the World Series. And we do have to wonder a bit after Challenge 1, is Veronica just going to run away with this? Now, the lead is only 11 seconds over second place, so it's not like it's a blowout, but times can add up. Can Veronica be beaten? There's some interesting stats to take away from this as well. I'm going to read most of these. And this is based off the live leaderboard that's currently on the website. When I wrote this bit, it's been updated a little bit since then. So I may be off by 1 or 2 numbers, but whatever. I'm not doing all the data again. So in the first challenge, at least 23 people finished more than 100 spots higher than what their table number was, with one person finishing 260 spots higher than what their table number is. Predicting where the finishes were going to be around the room immediately became impossible. Of the top 30 finishers, 14 different countries were represented, with Germany being the most represented, followed by the Czech Republic and Poland. So no surprises yet. At least 286 of the competitors finished the puzzle within the 75-minute time limit, with at least 220 of them doing it in under an hour. The average finishing time for those who completed the puzzle in 75 minutes or less was 51 minutes and 30 seconds. And at least 62 competitors, so about 20% of all competitors, finished within 3 minutes of that average time, either higher or lower. So if you are starting to prepare for next year's World Series already, there's kind of a goal to aim for. If you want to be in that top half, you're looking at around 51 minutes on average to finish the 500-piece puzzles. But I do want to finish higher next year, so if you can hold off on practicing until, I don't know, like a week or 2 before, that would be ideal. Thanks. This video is already going to be long enough as it is, so I'm going to save more stats and fun things for part 3. Stats are fun, but what is notable about these specific stats is the variation on where the finishers were in the room and how fast people were completing the puzzle within very small time frames of each other. And that impacted one other key aspect where there's been some discussions behind the scenes, and that comes to the cameras. Okay, like I said, this is going to be a long recap video because I really want to get through some of the main concerns that people have mentioned to me. Part 1 was the tables, done. Part 2 is the lighting, which is now done. And now the cameras and the live streams. And once I go through this, also done. As we were told, table assignments were based on logistics, and which we now understand due to how the venue was set up. And perceived ability would have had to be considered as well. It is not by chance that the top 3 finishers in the first challenge were at tables 3, 5, and 2. So yes, certain people were in certain areas for certain reasons. In fact, if we look at the top 3 finishers from each of the 6 challenges, table 8 was the lowest table number represented. So assigning those specific tables for the top puzzlers, they nailed it. And the other part of the logistics was based on the cameras. We had overhead cameras, which certainly helped, but their range was limited. If you're able to see, in fact, if I bring up the image from before, there is an American flag in the picture. That's kind of how far back the overhead cameras went. That's what I was told. So maybe half of that central area, leaving all the wings and the back half of that central area up to the cameras, the mobile cameras, of which there were only 2. Why didn't they have more cameras on the ground? You may be asking. Cost. Everything comes back to cost. The camera people are not volunteers. The equipment is not donated. In fact, after the venue, the equipment needed to run the live streams would be one of the most significant costs. I have sat down and tried to price out this event and what it would have cost, and it is ridiculously high. The price for the event, once everything is taken into account, I honestly don't know how the event went forward. And I'm just basing this on what I know from events that I've helped to run large-ish events, and this is probably about maybe larger than the largest events that I've done. It's, I don't know. It happened. The event obviously took place, but the costs are adding up in comparison to what we paid as an entry fee. And no sponsors. That's key. Now, I'm going to say something that a good portion of people are not going to like, but please watch through this whole thing before angry commenting below. You can angry comment afterwards, but just hear me out. This competition, more so than the World Championships, I would say, is about finding the world's fastest puzzlers. And by that, I mean who is truly the top 20 or so in the world. For those not within the top 20 or even the top 30, it is not about you. It is not about us, because I certainly do not fall within that top 20 or 30 category by any chance. It is not about us. We are not the primary focus. We are part of the atmosphere. We help make the event what it is, but at the end of the day, it is about the fastest puzzlers in the world, not about us. How does that relate to the cameras? Well, not everybody appeared on the live streams. I will agree that at least once during the 6 challenges, everyone should appear on the live streams. Not in each challenge, but once over the course of 6 challenges, yes, I will agree with that. But tracking that is next to impossible. If you have... Who's tracking it? The camera people are controlling the camera. You'd have to hire somebody else to have a little checklist of it. Are they also tracking the overhead cameras to count those individuals? You can't. Now, some may argue at least get the finishes in, and that is a strong argument. But now we're back to the logistics. In Challenge 1, from 30th place to 40th place, so that's 11 spots, all those people finish their puzzle within 1 minute and 2 seconds of each other. If they were seated next to each other, then yeah, the camera may be able to get each of those. But here's the table order in number. These are the tables that they were sitting at in the order they finished. Table 108, 185, 23, 125, 28, 22, 35, 15, 64, 11, 30. Worst game of bingo ever. Predicting where the next finisher is going to be is incredibly tough. Just the last 3, 64, 11, 300. That was the big jump. The 260 table jump person. That's incredibly tough to figure out where where the camera possibly has to be next within 1 minute and 2 seconds for all 11 of those. Now, the cameras on the ground also have wires, limited pathways. If you aren't on an aisle and someone around you has stood up to do their puzzling and push their chair backwards, that's one pathway that's been cut off. The camera's not getting to you easily. Another example, in the same challenge, let's move down to 160th place finisher in this round to 174th place. That is 15 places. They all finished within 58 seconds of each other. Those table numbers, let's do bingo again here. Those table numbers in order of finishing were 306, 106, 222, 169, 282, 138, 204, 141, 258, 194, 267, 228, 149, 265, 205. It's all over the map. All within the hundreds and 200s, but they're spread out. And as we know, the tables were in a bit of a maze. So even then, it's not physically possible to cover everybody. And for those in that 160th to 174th place example, the majority were not in view of the overhead cameras because the overhead cameras only went so far back down that center row. So you have 2 cameras to cover 15 finishes in 58 seconds. Again, I agree that at least 1 appearance over 6 challenges should be the minimum. it's tough to track that. Let's look at it a different way. In total, there were 335 competitors and a competition that lasted a total of 465 minutes. That works out to about 83 seconds per competitor if screen time was balanced equally and teleportation was taken into consideration. But again, it isn't meant to be equal. More time is going to be dedicated to those top 20 to 30 people. That's just how it is. From a personal point of view, if I wasn't on the screen at all, on the live streams at all, it would not be what determines if this was a good event or not. Some disappointment, maybe, sure. But when I look back on this event in a year or 5 years or 10 years or however many years I'm doing any of this stuff, whatever. Whether or not I was on a live stream for a couple minutes or a couple seconds won't be what matters to me. To others it might, and I don't want to minimize that at all. But there were so many other moments during those few days that are going to last with me much longer. Yes, I will be honest, I was on the live stream for more than my 83 seconds. So there is that. Why? Mainly luck. I was close to the front. I was seated near the top 20 to 30 and lucked out with being near the aisle and the center. So I had overhead cameras that could see me, and I had the ground cameras as well. It's a bit of luck. After this recap series is done, I won't watch those live streams again. I'll look at the pictures I took, the videos I took, remember the conversations I had with people, the places I visited, the puzzles I did, and the emotions and experiences over the course of those 4 days. The 2 competition days and the day before and the day after. That's going to mean more than a few seconds on a live stream. That, honestly, who's watching it once this is all done? In the moment, seeing friends and family watching you from whatever country you're from, yes, that I will 100% agree with, would have been disappointing. That's probably the most disappointing part, for sure. But there's so much else that I'm sure people took back with them to show friends, family, that they're going to post on their various social media platforms and whatever else goes with that. Those few seconds on the live stream, if you even watched at that exact moment in time, I don't know. I don't know. There's no trick to getting on the live stream either. If you're one of the top people in the world, of course, your odds are going to be much better. After that, it's mostly luck. Okay, this video not quite as joyful as part 1, so let's end with a topic that is more fun, and that is the collector cards. I was asked by people what we did during the breaks between challenges. So now that challenge 1 is over, what do we do? If you took the full 75 minutes in challenge 1, you have just 45 minutes until challenge 2 is going to start, and we are expected to be in our seats and kind of ready to go 15 minutes before that challenge starts. The timekeeping aspect of this, by the way, was amazing. It'll come up a bit later again, but in probably part 3. But we were ready for that next round to start, and so were the organizers and volunteers, the timekeepers, everybody that was involved. This was running like I don't know. Are they really strict with times and stuff in Germany? My train was late twice, so maybe not the trains. Puzzle competitions. Yeah. Although it was Australians that were doing the timekeeping. Are Australians known for being on time? That can't be right. They're so relaxed. No. I don't know. I don't know. It happened. After challenge 1 and challenge 2, the big focus on day 1 were the collector's cards. While I'm talking through this, part of a video that I recorded of me opening up the packs will be playing to the side. I don't know which side, I've done the editing yet. This will be released on its own. I am talking in it, obviously not right now, but yeah, the cards were fun. For over 200 people, this would be the first time we get to see ourselves on the cards, and I think we're all a little bit excited for it. Now, supplies were limited. Pretty much every single card sold out the first day. Some extra packs were found and were available on day 2, but they went very quickly as well. Each competitor, so you can see some examples here. The cards above me were all cards that were signed by various competitors. But each competitor only appeared on 20 cards, and there was about 5,000 cards made. So even finding yourself is going to be a bit of a challenge. You're going to have to rely on other people if you want to see or have your specific card. Yes, with on 20 cards. And that included within that were the special edition cards, where some had a shiny background to them and some had like a holographic background. So there's 3 different versions for everybody of the same card. Trading for yourself was very intense at the start. People would approach you asking if you wanted to trade for your card, but hoping they could get their card back in exchange. The odds of you having that specific person, highly unlikely, again, just purely based on the math. The first time I saw my specific card was within, I don't even think I was in the venue yet, and I might have a video. I'll see if I can find a video and include it after this, where walking in, the head judge of the competition, Heidi, told me that she had found my card, and once I had found my seat after going through the maze, that was the first card that I signed. It's probably the first thing I've ever signed. So congratulations, Heidi. Congratulations, is that right? Right, the word? Wow, my head is huge right now. I didn't mean that. Congratulations on being the first one to find my... No, that's worse. It was weird signing something. I don't really know how to react to it. By the end of the weekend, everyone was signing everything, so it was just normal at that case. But I think it was just because we were walking in for the first time, and suddenly there's a card on my table going, sign this. I definitely didn't bring a Sharpie with me in case that happened. I did want at least one card of myself, but would have been okay without it. If people want it for their collections, that's fine. But I really did want one for myself. Heidi was not trading hers. Now, it was common, like I said, to see people signing cards. It was a fun thing to do. 2 people generously gave me versions of my card. One is right above my head at the moment, right here. That is the holographic version, and then I have the shiny version as well with it. I do not have the standard one, which is fine. Finding yourself was tough. I didn't get, out of all the packs that I purchased, I didn't get myself in any of them. Again, it's fine. But because finding your own card was proving to be tough, and people were building their own collections, so you might not always want to trade away the card. The only card I regret giving away would be my table partner's. I thought I would have seen her card again, but I found someone gave me her card, and I just gave it directly to her. So that's the only one I wish I still had, so it could add to my signed collection up here, but it's fine. But because, like I said, it's tough to find your own, people had to resort to other collection goals. Many were looking for the top competitors, which is probably the toughest challenge to give yourself because they were in high demand. I didn't really get many or any of the top competitors, but I managed to have people gift to me Veronica's card and Alejandro's card. Alejandro was not able to attend there, but I was able to get both their cards. You can see that theirs is special with the, I don't know how that's going to show up on camera, with the golden leaf things around. I should really know that word. Around them, Alejandro as well. You can see all their accomplishments at the bottom. Let's calm down. Alejandro, that's insane. There's so much going on. I'm glad I have these two cards. I did not get them signed. Obviously, Alejandro wasn't there, and I'll talk about why I didn't get Veronica's signed in a second. Others were looking to get all the cards of the people from their specific country, which I did like seeing that. I was able to find at least one card and keep at least one card from all the Canadians that had their own collectible cards. So I accomplished that goal. Some people just wanted to get all of the cards of their friends, which I like that goal the most. I think I like that one. The most impressive collection, though, by far, that I'm aware of would be Aaron from the UK. I actually do have his card up here and signed. He's on Instagram at aaron.puzzles. He has collected every single card except for 2. Hopefully, he's able to find the Victor and the Karen cards, if he hasn't already at the time I'm recording this, and complete the set. Especially because these cards, I'm assuming they'll continue in future years, but these specific cards all have the word inaugural on it, so it is the first set of all of these, essentially rookie cards. But yeah, I'm hoping he's able to get those. Another impressive collection out there was Patrick from Switzerland, also there as well. He has quite the collection that he has built up to, so well done to those 2 individuals. But yes, between challenges 1 and 2 and between challenges 2 and 3, people were mostly trading cards. Some people were relaxing. If you're Victor, between challenges you were angry eating, as he discussed in his Champions Corner episode, which you should definitely go and watch if you want to learn about his approach to the challenges. Some people went for walks, but again, we don't have a lot of time. You have 15 minutes, half an hour, depending on how long that first challenge took you. Okay, so for people like Victor, you have maybe an hour and a bit between challenges, but for most of us, it's a lot of people, quick snacks, look at the trading cards, discuss what just happened, panic for the next round. That was between the challenges. And while the cards themselves are fun, they allowed people to approach other puzzlers who may not have met before or were nervous of approaching people. So these provided a nice, clear icebreaker. There was a reason to go up and speak to different people. The puzzle world is filled with introverted or shy individuals, myself included to some degree, which is why the Veronica card is not signed. I'm intimidated by Veronica. She's so good at puzzling, and we've never spoken at all, so I couldn't bring myself to do that and go up and ask her to sign the card. But overall, this was such a great way of getting people to talk to each other outside of their smaller friendship groups or their country groupings. And I think this was a huge factor in the success of the World Series. In the next video, I promise to cover the remaining 5 challenges along with the stats and other interesting things that have taken place. But I just want to end this specific video on a positive. I've mentioned it before, and I will mention it again in this series, and when the 2027 World Series is inevitably announced at some point in the future. But the Speed Puzzle World Series was promoted as a different type of speed puzzle event. And while there's many factors that make that true, the collectible trading cards were the perfect example of this. I've not been to another large event, puzzle related or weddings or fundraisers or reunions or whatever, that have provided a specific physical object like a trading card that has allowed people to approach and talk to others. That social catalyst did impact the weekend in such a positive way. By the time day 2 arrived and challenge 4 and 5 and 6 were ending, the mingling across the various groups, whether it was friendship groups or countries or abilities or whatever it might have been, it was clear. It was so much more cohesive than I've seen at any other event that I've attended. And depending on who returns for the 2027 World Series, it could look more like a puzzle reunion than a competition. And for those of us not in the top 30, that will be part of what makes attending the 2027 World Series worth it. That is it for this video. Next time, again, I promise to cover the remaining challenges. But by now you've at least seen the puzzles, so there's no big surprises on what the images are. Unless you're waiting for this series to reveal the puzzles, I apologize, and well done for the amazing self-control. I'll also answer any other questions people may have. There's still a few to get to, but you can leave questions below on this video or part one, or through my Instagram, which is @cadampuzzle. Follow me on there, talk with me on there as well. There's still a lot of coverage ish, I guess, coming up on the World Series. I am balancing this with also Canadian Nationals coming up soon. My 1 year YouTube anniversary is coming up. There is a lot of things taking place. There's some guests that are being scheduled for future videos. You won't want to miss those. Again, there's so much coming up. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Let me know what you're thinking of the series so far and what your opinions are of the World Series. And that's it. So, yeah, until next time, as always, happy puzzling.